Hello, welcome. So today we're going to be taking a little dive into r/BestOfRedditorUpdates, and if we have a little time at the end, as I think we may do, we might look at another post from a different subreddit also. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in listening to with me today, then please do stick around and enjoy! And don't forget to like and subscribe, please, thank you! And of course, quick disclaimer, any opinions that I give on the post that we read today are just opinions, they are not facts and do not need to be taken as such. If you have a differing opinion, that is brilliant. Please do feel free to leave it in the comments. Just make sure you're keeping it respectful, no need to be mean to anyone that you do not agree with. With that being said, let's get into it, shall we? So this first one was posted by Direct Caterpillar 77, and they say, notified my work weeks ago I'm leaving for a family vacation in July. Tickets were bought, non-transferable, and they are panicking, begging me to cancel. So of course, Direct Caterpillar is not the original poster. They are the person who compiled all the posts together for us like a lovely wee bean. The original poster is you/educated vegetable, and originally posted in r/anti-work. And every time I read these, I just think I'm so sick of hearing myself say the word original, originated, originees. And it was originally posted March 14th, 2026. This whole situation is absurd and I need a sanity check. I work in an admin in a niche but important multinational industry. I'm a knowledgeable, reliable cog and I pick up a lot of slack as we are incredibly short-staffed with plans to add more because it's working out fine for right now. Translation, the company does not want to pay any more for any more staff, blah blah. My boss is going on vacation and she and I were comparing dates and realised that they line up. She immediately told me I had to cancel. I told her I can't. Things are non-refundable. Since I am a cog, I never considered my manager's schedule. That is not my job. She told me she could deny my paid time off and if I go, I would be released. I'd say release me then. Call the bluff, actually. I know a lot of people can't really do that because the climate we live in currently, but that would be what I would want to do. Great. I go to her boss and say, let's make a plan. They say, okay, great. And I build a schedule for task coverage, including him taking a few hours each day to sit at my desk and doing my in-person job of fielding industry questions or taking their info and I'd follow up later. And I offer to log in, paid, for a couple hours every day to help support. He says, cool, I'll present this to the higher-ups. My boss's boss told me that the higher-ups think that he's too important and high-paid to sit at a front admin office for any amount of time. See, that's where a lot of these companies end up with employees that hate them and end up with a high staff turnover, and they can't understand why. And it's because you've got higher-ups that expect people to do things that they would never do. And also expect them to be like dogs' bodies and not have their own lives, when you would never do that. If you want your company taken seriously, you first have to take your own company seriously. If you want employees to put you first have to show willingness to put them first and put your company first. You know, I honestly think as a boss, as an owner of a company, you should never expect people to do anything that you yourself would not do. That's how you lose respect from your employees. Then the board comes up with a great idea. We'll just offer to reschedule my vacation. They offered a few $100 to cover scheduling fees. I calculated the fees and they are way more than a few $100. Talking thousands as hotels, travel, transport, everything for $4. I book in advance so I can just relax. We do this because it's not just my life, but my partner's summer schedule and his 2 kids and their crazy schedules with sports, split custody, their bio mum's vacation plans, a whole thing. Honestly, I don't think companies, once you've scheduled time off and that you've had it okayed with them, you've given them notice, they have okayed your paid time off, they should not be allowed to then, retract that at all. There should honestly be no legal reason that they should be allowed to retract it, and I think they should be liable to punishment if they do. They asked me to cancel it and go some other time. I said a firm no. The kids are finally old enough to comfortably travel internationally. They are excited. I am not telling them we can't go because work won't let me. Huh? My thing is, I'm a cog. Should I have double-checked everyone's calendars before rescheduling? Sure, but I'm not a managing party. No, you're not. And it's the job of managers, once you've gone to them with a request for paid time off and they okay it, so it's tough shit. They've looked at the schedules and gone, yeah, that's fine. It's their job. They are a manager. The clue is in the name. They are supposed to manage the employees, which includes managing who's doing what days, who's working when. That shouldn't be down to the employees. I haven't experienced something like this in my entire working life. I've previously notified upper management of my vacation time at the beginning of the year, just like this, and they just say, okay, great, thanks for letting us know. Why is my leaving for 7 working days leaving the office in such a panic? Because they have understaffed themselves to probably try and save money, and now they are realizing that they have no one to cover, despite the fact that the boss was offering to cover and seems like the only other decent person within this company right now. My goodness. There are options to resolve this, like having someone come from another department for a couple days here, another couple days there, and I offered to support remotely. Also, my vacation is scheduled for July. I tell you in February. Yeah, you gave plenty of notice, my love. Also, shouldn't this be a reasonable indicator of how short-staffed a department is if 2 people being out for any extended period of time throws a wrench into everything? Yes, it should. Did I do something wrong? Is there something I'm not seeing? Any insight or advice would be amazing. Edited to add, I am a woman. Relevant comments, No Albatross 7213 says, it's March, July is 4 months away. They can pull their shit together and figure out a plan. Either this company is imploding or this post is rage bait. Honestly, I don't think it's even a sign of companies imploding. Like I say, companies now, they are all about trying to scrape as much life force out of their employees as they can for as little money as they can. So they'll understaff themselves on purpose so they don't have to pay more people and just overwork the people they already have instead. And a lot of the time now, it's not even because they haven't got the money or the budget or stuff. Like these big corporate companies, they have the friggin' money. They just don't want to spend it on you. They want to spend it on themselves. They want, the higher ups want to be just like hoarding it like dragons. Like that's the problem. And they are so wealthy a lot of the time, or so comfortable with what wealth they do have, they don't give a shit about the little people. They don't care. Like the OP has said, you are literally a cog in the machine to them. In a very literal way, they don't see their employees as humans with real human lives and outside feelings outside of work, you know? So then the OOP says, unfortunately, this is very real. The company is actually expanding, see, told you, and other 2 personnel have left, but will not be replaced due to cost, and since they left, the department is no longer overstaffed. The president of the company is a tightwad and has successfully run with a skeleton crew for over 2 decades, and is the kind of person that will tell his employees, minions, to make a grand idea happen. If he is questioned or told that that won't work because of X, he gets so angry that he's being asked to explain himself or take input from the people around him. It just makes him dig his heels in harder. Luckily, as a cog, I don't have to face the brunt of his ire, but my boss and boss's boss do, which is why my boss got so emotional when this all started. I would leave, but opportunities for this niche industry with my skill set and location are minimal. So then we have an update, April 18th, 2026. Interesting update in this saga, OG post linked hopefully, and I need another sanity check. Summary: I notified my workplace in March that I would be going on vacation in July. Dates overlap with my bosses, who panicked and told me that she would deny my leave and it would be job abandonment. Cool. So, some time has passed and upper management is absolutely begging me to reconsider, reschedule, cancel anything so that I am here for the time our dates overlap. Overlapping time? 5 working days. They keep telling me that they have to consider the needs of the business, that they will pay for rescheduling fees in the thousands. They keep asking me to pull up or answer for my personal calendar to cajole me into rescheduling to come back early to cover some of the time. They keep saying, but you know how busy it gets. Look at your metrics. So employ another friggin' person. What the hell? On top of this, we had 2 people leave the department in as many months, and we are being told no additional personnel will be hired. The reason why no one is being hired is because I've absorbed most of the workload and, see, it's fine. We don't need more people. Great. See, this is why you don't overachieve for these companies. Because, you think you're doing them a favor, they think they're just training you to do more. The thing is, I know how busy it gets. That's why I booked a family vacation during the slowest time of the year and told you all in March that I wouldn't be here. I wasn't asking. I feel like I'm going crazy with 6 people telling me I'm being unreasonable, inflexible, and putting them in a bad position. I even made a temporary schedule for other departments to cover my work for that time. Again, 5 days, and was told that it's not going to be considered because other departments are already short-staffed. It just really is making me feel like all personnel issues are falling onto me. The thing is, I'm looking at the job market right now and it is bleak out there. Recession indicators waving red flags. Sure, I could get a new job, but not at my pay schedule or in my field right away. I'm seriously considering making my part of my family trip shorter so I can come back early. Do I hold strong, or do I let them bully me into changing my vacation plan so I have job security? Seriously asking because I feel like I'm actually going crazy from the stress. See, if it was me, I would see all of those things as a signifier that they are not going to want to employ someone new, train them, and then try and get them to do the job of multiple work personnel. So I am going to go ahead and assume that actually the OP is pretty bloody valuable to them by the fact they're freaking out about not having the OP just for 7 days of vacation days, which I assume they are entitled to by law. So yeah. If it was me, I would look at all that and I'd probably be like, I'm going, because they ain't going to want to replace me. They don't even want to pay for the amount of staff that they need already. They are not going to want to have to train someone new. Who's going to train them as well? Because the OP is doing multiple people's jobs. So then the person who would be left would have to do OP's job, which is already multiple people's job. I imagine that person, the other person that's there in OP's department is also doing multiple people's job, and then try and train someone? Surely they are not stupid enough to think that they can get away with that, although wouldn't surprise me. So yeah, I would call their bluff if it was me, but I'm stubborn. I would never tell someone to put their job at risk if they genuinely felt like it was at risk, though. So I would say it's definitely one of those things of I personally think they would not fire the OP because I think that they are not going to want to have to deal with the consequences and the costs of doing so. But yeah, I would never be like, yeah, quit your job, especially in this economy. So then we have some relevant comments. My Lady Bits, excuse you, says, take your vacation. Say out loud to them, if you can't do without me for 7 days, what will you do without me if you fire me? Precisely. OOP said, I did. They told me I was a valuable employee, but ultimately replaceable and should start looking for other work. So then we have a final update, May 17th, 2026. Final update, hopefully I linked the post correctly. Thanks to all who commented or interacted with me on the previous posts. All comments were read, considered, and offered many perspectives I didn't consider, so thank you. In short, I notified my employer months in advance that I was leaving for vacation. They needed coverage for 5 days, and they told me that if I went, I would not have a job when I returned. Cool. After some reflection and your encouraging comments, I decided to look for another job in the industry I work in. It's pretty niche, so the major players know of or have met each other. I reached out to a vendor of the company I currently work for, and they immediately offered me a position. Fully remote at the same pay scale. Yes, OP! I love that for you. They said I can start now, later, whenever. They are stoked to have me on the team. They mentioned I have a great reputation and all of our vendor interactions have been positive. And because they were a vendor, they couldn't approach me, but they were happy I reached out to them. I am over the moon. I gave my current position a month's notice. I'm training my replacement over the next 2 weeks, taking a short break, and then starting my new remote position, and I get to keep my vacation with no hassle. All in all, I'm really happy with how this all worked out, and not sure if I would have pursued anything new without my current position treating me so poorly. So honestly, kind of have to thank them for opening my eyes. How I would have loved to be a fly on the wall when the OP handed in their resignation notice. Oh my goodness, I would have loved to have been there. Because I genuinely think they thought they could bully the OP and threaten them into like doing what they wanted. And it's backfired just so sweetly. So, final comments. Feel the force, Harry says. How did they react to you leaving? If they can't cover you for 5 days, I would expect them to panic even more over replacing you. And then the OOP says they were mostly resigned, made a counteroffer, but I respectfully declined. They asked if I could stay an additional week, and I also declined that, saying I wanted to establish my routine with the new company, and that I wanted to focus on my growth there. I thank them for everything I've learned while I'm with them, and the opportunity to move on wouldn't have been a possibility without them, which is true. These last couple weeks have been a mad scramble for them to get a replacement, and frankly, they are in for a fun awakening when they realise they are taking on the job of about 3 people. But this workload will be up to management to decide how to allocate. Not my problem anymore. So, down in the comments of the Best of Redditor Updates post, Rough Programmer 997 quotes the OP and says, "On top of this, we had 2 people leave the department in as many months, and we are being told no additional personnel will be hired. The reason why no one is being hired is because we've absorbed most of the workload and, see, it's fine, we don't need more people. Great. You know it's bad when a company's work is dependent on one person barely holding it all together. I fucking hate this shit. I see it all the time when there's a long line of customers at a store or a fast food restaurant and only like 1 to 3 tills available. Nevertheless, good on OOP for sticking to their guns and recognising that their situation at the company was untenable. I thank them for everything I've learned while with them, and the opportunity to move on wouldn't have been a possibility without them, which is true. This part was very satisfying to read. I love when someone has the opportunity to pass on these sorts of comebacks, the ones that are kind on the surface but belie a starker truth. Honestly, yeah, because it's like they can't even like be like, oh, you're being mean or unreasonable or anything, because it's like, dude, you brought it on yourself. Sucks to suck. Okay then, so we're going to read a post from r/am I the Butthole, and this is also a bit of a long one, so buckle in and get ready. This one was posted by ShotJello4878. Am I the Butthole for not telling my parents I was hospitalised for a week to prove a point? I live in another city while my parents, both in their late 50s, still live in my hometown. We actually have a really good relationship overall. I usually fly home every Christmas, we talk often, and there's no major family drama. But there's one thing about them that has driven me and everyone else in our family insane for years. They are completely careless with their phones. They'll leave their phones in another room all day, leave them on silent by accident, or forget to charge them so the battery dies for an entire day. Sometimes I'll call 5 or 6 times before someone finally answers hours later. To be fair, I feel like the parents are doing what we all wish we could do and just leave your phone somewhere, although I do think what's the point in having one? And I think also like when you have family, and children and whatever, even if the children are adults, you'd want to have your phone on you and in hearing range at least, just in case of emergencies, wouldn't you? I've talked to them about it many times because they don't have a landline, so their cell phones are literally the only reliable way to reach them. Yes, I understand they come from an older generation and aren't exactly tech savvy. They didn't grow up attached to phones the way younger people did, but they're not that old. And I still feel like if your cell phone is your only form of communication, you should at least keep it charged and within hearing distance, exactly. Because, you used to have a landline. Most people had a landline. So if someone rang, didn't matter where you were in the house, you'd hear it because it was loud. So, if people needed to get in touch with you, it doesn't mean you have to have your phone surgically attached to you, but at least you can hear it, like somewhere you can hear it. I've told them things like, what if there's an emergency? Or what if someone urgently needs to contact you? They'll always brush it off and act like I'm overreacting. Last month, I got severe food poisoning and ended up hospitalised for a week. That happened to my mum. I think she got Campylobacter, And she was ill for months, but she was in hospital when it first kicked off for a week. She got it from undercooked chicken, I think. Yeah, she was in rough shape for a bit. Oh my goodness. And now, she obliterates chicken whenever she cooks it because she's so scared of getting it again, which is understandable. Campylobacter is a nasty, nasty food poisoning. It wasn't life-threatening, but I was pretty miserable. While I was in the hospital, I tried calling both of them multiple times over 2 days. No answer. One phone was dead and the other apparently was left somewhere in the house. At that point, I got frustrated and honestly gave up trying. Now, to be fair, I could have contacted my aunt who lives near them and she absolutely would have told them. But after years of this same issue, I decided not to. Part of me thought maybe this is the only way that they'll finally understand why people keep their phones accessible. Yesterday, I was talking to my mum on the phone and casually mentioned, "Oh yeah, last month I was hospitalised for food poisoning for about a week." She completely freaked out and got really angry that I never told them. I explained that I did try to contact them repeatedly, but they didn't answer. She said I still should have called my aunt because this was an emergency. I admitted that I could have done that, but I intentionally didn't because I wanted them to finally realise how irresponsible they are with their phones. That made her even angrier. She said I used my hospitalisation to prove a point and scared them unnecessarily. My dad thinks we're both being stubborn. I mean, I understand why the OP's being stubborn though, because it sounds like something they've brought up with their parents about 1,000 times. And they've not listened. So yeah, I get it. And do you know what? No, why should the aunt be the dog's body every time someone needs to get hold of the parents? Because yeah, is she gonna have to run around acting like their PA for everything when any time that anyone needs to get in touch with them? That's not fair on the aunt then, I honestly didn't think it was that huge of a deal since I recovered fine and it wasn't life-threatening, but now I'm wondering if I took the lesson too far. Am I the butthole? I mean, to be fair, food poisoning can definitely be life-threatening. Especially the more severe forms, especially one that's hospitalised you for a week. It could turn that way, but obviously you're fine now and all has been well, thank goodness. But no, I think they need to wake up and realise that they need to keep their phones at least on loud. They don't have to have them on them all the time. But what is the point in having them? And if you're not going to keep them in ear's reach so you can hear them when they ring, don't be mad when people don't keep you in the loop. Edited to add, I just woke up and started reading through all the comments. Sorry if I can't reply to everyone individually, but I noticed a lot of the same questions coming up, so I'll answer some of them here. Why didn't you just leave a text or voicemail? My parents basically do not text. They're terrible at it. Messages can sit unread for weeks. If they want to communicate, they call. Same with voice notes. We use WhatsApp. They rarely check them unless someone specifically tells them to. Why don't they install a landline? Because they don't want to. Simple as that. Our old landline was disconnected years ago and they never bothered getting another one installed. Honestly, at this point, it sounds like the parents are being purposefully awkward because they could learn to text. It's not that hard. Like, I understand people saying, yeah, they're not tech savvy, blah, 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 but they can easily learn how to be tech savvy to a point of being able to send a text message. They just don't want to. And then if they don't want to do that, don't be surprised when you don't get kept in the loop with things. They're not even that old. Why can't they just learn how to use a phone? I think some people are misunderstanding what I mean when I say they're not tech savvy. For context, I live in Asia, and when my parents were younger, internet access and mobile phones were luxuries where we lived. In my hometown back then, only relatively wealthy people had mobile phones. My parents only got their first phones after my oldest brother moved away for college so they could stay in contact with him. And honestly, even back then they were hard to reach. So when I say they're not tech savvy, I don't mean old people can't understand technology. I mean they genuinely don't care enough to learn beyond the basics. Well, yeah, that's a them problem. It's just like, oh my goodness, it's really not an excuse. They could take the time to learn it. You know, they don't have to, and I completely understand why people wouldn't want to, but don't get angry then, like I've said already, if you're not kept in the loop, if you don't want to learn to use the things that will keep you in the loop. My dad once accidentally called our family WhatsApp group while he and my mum were gossiping about someone from church. Thankfully, it was only our family group and not the church group itself, so yeah, that should paint a picture. Why do you expect them to be glued to their phones 24/7? I don't. When I say it takes multiple attempts to reach them, I don't mean I'm calling every 2 hours every day expecting immediate responses. I mean that whenever I do call, it often takes several tries before they answer, or they'll only notice hours later and call back then. They don't check notifications, they don't browse the internet, they don't watch YouTube or play games. They basically use their phones like old-fashioned cordless landlines whose only purpose is making calls. I've actually shown them how to use other features before, but they simply don't care enough to bother with any of it because to them, phones are just for calling. I'm not asking them to become social media addicts. I'm asking them to at least keep their phones charged and maybe check them once or twice a day. Is it really that big of a problem? Yeah. My brothers and I are not the only people who've complained about this. My parents have missed multiple important family updates because they don't answer calls or chat messages. A cousin gave birth, they found out a week later. My mum's brother had surgery to remove kidney stones, she found out days afterwards. And every single time they get upset and complain that no one tried hard enough to reach them. That's what makes this exhausting. A lot of commenters are saying that they miss the old days before everyone was glued to their phones, and honestly, I get that. But we live in 2026 now. Important updates, emergencies, and family news are mostly communicated through calls and messages now, whether we like it or not. Again, I'm not demanding that my parents stay attached to their phones 24/7. I'm just asking for the bare minimum level of accessibility. Also, for those asking, my emergency contacts are my brothers and my parents. After this whole situation, I've honestly been considering asking my aunt if I can add her too. Honestly, I'd take your parents off your emergency contacts, to be honest. Like, what's the point in having them on there? And lastly, someone claiming to be a medical worker said that my story must be fake, because nobody stays hospitalised for a week for food poisoning. Yes, they do. Food poisoning can kill you. Like, are you serious? And a medical worker should know that. First of all, people can absolutely end up hospitalised longer depending on dehydration complications, pre-existing conditions, or other health issues. Second, even if there were other medical factors involved, that's not the point of the post, and I don't owe random strangers my medical history. Pretty wild for a supposed medical worker to immediately dismiss someone else's health situation without knowing anything about them. They've clearly never heard of E. coli, Salmonella, Campylobacter, you know, the list goes on, all of which can hospitalise you, all of which can you if it gets bad enough. So yeah, I think I'm definitely in agreement that the parents need to either stop complaining that no one contacts them or start at least leaving their phones charged up and on loud. So down in the comments, Cranky Dragon says late 50s is not that old for fuck's sake. They are just irresponsible. Not the butthole in the slightest. It isn't your responsibility to try and hunt them down when there's a perfectly reasonable way to reach them that they don't care enough to keep track of. And then Jureg says, yep, my mum is reaching her 70s and she knows how to make Venmo payments and enter social medias. It took her time to learn, but she did. Exactly. Like, if they wanted to, they would. And if they don't want to, don't friggin' moan. Simple as that. Okay then, so I think that's where we're going to leave it for today. If you made it all the way to the end with me, then I appreciate you very, very much. If you give a little like, subscribe, notifications on, that is your initiation into the Coven of Void. Welcome. Whatever it is you're doing for the day, I hope you have a really good rest of the day. Don't forget to leave an offering of a comment for Big Al. Bye!